The next interview is on Patrick McGoohan. I want to make a posit before we get into that. I think Patrick McGoohan is arguably the greatest actor of the 20th century. I think that he has been given much neglect in that aspect, but he is the only actor I can recall in all the films I've seen of his and in The Prisoner that I don't recognize, and it's not because of the makeup. It's this because he has such an intensity to him and so much range that he's able to convincingly portray someone like that. I can think of that Alcatraz movie where he's almost unrecognizable. Even shit like Braveheart, he makes it a little bit better by his presence. Where as the prisoner is probably the best thing he was in. Well, not just probably, definitely the best thing he was in, and also the deepest thing he was in. And it also shows the integrity of the man and how smart he was that he was able to conceive of such a show that played with the whole Danger Man trope, but going completely beyond it.
Have you seen Danger Man?
I've seen segments of Danger Man, but it's so much longer than The Prisoner that it would be impractical at that time, and I don't think that they're on YouTube as they were before now.
Yeah, if you get a chance, you can probably get the whole DVD set for $25 or something. If for Christmas you want to treat yourself, it's one of the best, if not the best, of the spy shows of the '60s, and it started actually in 1959. The half-hour shows, and I think we talk about a few of the episodes in this interview. The half-hour shows are just even better, I think, than most of the hour shows. Although he sustains them, there are a few differences here and there. The guys who I'm speaking with are involved with this society called Six of One, which is six of one, half a dozen of another, which is one of the tropes and the sayings that are used over and over again within the diegetic universe of The Prisoner. I don't know if I would say McGoohan was the greatest actor of the 20th century. I would certainly put him in the top 10. I mean, I would put people. There were some Japanese actors in some of the great things. Marcello Mastroianni, even though he did some stinkers in the
Well,
'70s and
it,
'80s
it
when he was
is
old.
very arguable. There are many contenders, but I think when you look at the consistency of Magoo's work and the fact that he could make such shit into passability, at least in the moment it was in there, I think that raised him above. And Mastriani, well, he was great in his early work and even in his middle career. He descended in his later career, like all great actors do. But McGoohan was someone who even in his later days was able to bring something. He's great in so many different roles. De Niro at his height is probably a better actor and had more range and had probably the most range of any actor, period. But he has sold out so much in the last 20, 25 years
Yeah.
that it is impossible to rank him above Nguyen at this point.
Yeah, I mean, again, these I would put him in the top 10. He's certainly one of the great. Te- te- he's probably in the top two or three television wise. Um, I would certainly put him in the top 10 overall. I never saw him on a stage or doing a stage production, so I can't say. The two guys, though, were very interesting. They worked so well, and these two guys were sort of like Laurel and Hardy. They knew what the other one was going to say.
Yes.
They almost had like they could have gone on an act. They could do like uh, a performance art show, the life of McGoohan, and the two of them could just raconteur. We talk of everything from uh, the guy at one of the guys says at one point, I met Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden, the '80s rock band, who did a couple of songs based on The Prisoner. So it's very interesting. These guys went to a lady's apartment. It was postponed for about a month. I was originally going to do it, I think, in December of 2014. I didn't do it until January of 2015 because one of them got ill. And but yeah, they're just terrific together, and they work as a team so well. It was a fun interview. It was the best of the interviews I think up to that point.
The Prisoner show, the penultimate episode, is the best uh, sustained amount of television I've ever seen. Has some of the best acting I've ever seen on a television show, and it's more closer to cinema than it is regular TV. I know you've written many times about The Prisoner, but in the context of his legacy, do you think that it will hold up to the standards. There are moments in the Twilight Zone that have similar highs, but the Twilight Zone is so scattershot and hit and miss that I think it's really indisputable. The Prisoner is the superior show.
Well, yeah, Prison only has 17 episodes, 180 episodes, so 10 times as many episodes for the Twilight Zone. And even if you just consider them as half-hour episodes, most of them, you still have probably about 90 to 100 hours of that show versus just 17 of The Prisoner. Um, probably the probably the least episode you could argue is maybe the girl in death episode.
Or the one where a different actor plays McGoohan.
Yeah, that one too. The Western episode also that was in the first episode. The first season was I think 12 or 13 episodes, and the last 4 or 5 episodes were season 2 to wrap up the show. I'm glad that they didn't do that much more. I'm glad that they didn't have the total cop out that ends Nowhere Man, which is the closest I think that television has come to something like that. I would love to have interviewed McGoohan. One of these days, I hope to interview Bruce Greenwood about his whole career because he's done some interesting things, but especially about Nowhere Man, which is the closest television series to The Prisoner.